Hello everyone, this is Shit You Didn't Know. I'm Corey,
I'm Logan.
and today we're going to tell you some shit you didn't know. So this week's beer series, we're not doing a hipster beer because I found a beer at Aldi that is $5.94 with tax. So I'm promoting it because that's great, and it's not Natty Light. It's not Bush Light. It's even foreign. It's Guatemalan. What do you think that means?
Generally paler, probably tastes like Corona. Probably not too bad.
It's actually really good. I can drink it warm. So,
Ugh.
yeah, I can drink it warm.
You
Can.
wouldn't though.
Would rather not, but can.
Right.
Drink it warm. So, as I said before, Logan knows nothing about the topic. I haven't told him anything. He's coming in here, with blinders on.
But I'm excited to learn.
I hope you are too. So,
What's the topic you got for me today?
May 22nd, 1942. Ted Kaczynski was born in Chicago, Illinois to second-generation Polish parents.
Good old Chicago.
And Logan's mom is from Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And Polish people are apparently, they are everywhere in Chicago. They breed like rabbits and they spread diseases. I'm totally just kidding.
And that's funny because my grandma is pure Polish. My grandma's middle name, well, not middle, her maiden name is Solkowski. Eleanor Solkowski, and it's so Polish.
So if you go to the Chicago area and you find a stranded Polish person out at night, make sure you call your local animal control department.
Or ask if they own a restaurant.
I'm fucking with you. I don't have the issue with Polish people. So anyway, his parents were Wanda and Richard Kaczynski. He was the oldest of two sons. His younger brother was named David. Ted was born healthy, but at a young age, he started to develop severe hives. And this forced him into isolation at the local hospital for several years. So he was in and out of the hospital constantly from the age of 2 to 5, and he didn't respond well emotionally to all the isolation that was going on.
Well, at least his parents put him in a hospital saying, okay, you're deformed. There's a cellar. We love you. We'll see you in a couple of days. At least you're like, okay, medical treatment may be the way to go.
Well, yes, it's a rabid Polish child. It needs to be secluded. Again,
check on him in a couple of days, see if we need to put him down.
just give him some vodka, put him in a corner.
Don't let him bite you.
So, he finally got out of the hospital around 5. I guess they found what was causing his hives. So, Ted then began attending school at age 6 at Sherman Elementary in Chicago until the 4th grade when his family moved to Evergreen Park, Illinois in 1952. You know where that is? I know it's in the suburbs of Chicago, but I'm not sure.
So many. I've heard of it, but I'm not 100% certain where.
Okay. It seemed like what I read about it seemed like a middle-class neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, at Evergreen Park, his teachers noticed that Ted was really gifted, like very gifted, especially at mathematics. And they had his IQ tested at the school. Ted recorded a 167 on his IQ test, which is like insane. Like,
yeah.
Really, really, really smart. And they recommended that he skip 6th grade because he was so ahead of the other students. This move, it proved to be pivotal because Ted was a very quiet and timid child, but mostly got along with his classmates when he was younger. But when he skipped a grade, he began having trouble fitting in and started getting bullied. And in this, the effect of this is he became more socially withdrawn from the other kids. So, despite his outstanding academic achievement at the school, his mother worried about his lack of friends and his lack of social skills. Ted was an odd boy. He was really shy and would clam up at the sight of confrontation.
Well, yeah, you locked him in a hospital.
Yeah. So there's effects of that still.
I wonder why he doesn't have friends.
So he would shut down in social situations when he felt uncomfortable in any way. So she considered putting Ted in a study for children with autism, which, you know, and would work out. What they do is they teach the kids how to count cards, and then they take them to Vegas. And no, I'm just kidding.
Man, it's like 21 without Kevin Spacey.
So you know, Kevin Spacey hasn't been in any movies lately. Why is that?
Because he's not good with the child crowd.
Yeah,
I
saw the preview for 9 Lives. I gotta got that. So
his idea of American Beauty was so wrong.
So in 1955, Ted started attending Evergreen Park High School, where he excelled academically. He played the trombone in the marching band, and was a member of the math club. Man, he's not helping himself in that not getting bullied part. So not only the math club, he was also in the coin club and the German club. So could you imagine now just Ted in a hallway just counting coins in German?
You know, I can't even imagine that. All I'm imagining is Al Yankovic and White and Nerdy.
Well, I imagine him just sitting in a hall somewhere and counting coins in German.
Poindexter, yeah.
I'm a member of 3 clubs. Ein, zwei, drei. So, Ted, obvious reasons, was seen as an outsider and a loner by most of the kids. One classmate remarked, he was never seen as a person, more of a walking brain.
Oh.
He must have helped the jocks cheat or something. That must have been what that was.
I technically got 5 scholarships. But I'm still going nowhere.
At least not socially.
Right.
So, as he was ending high school, Kaczynski became very interested in mathematics. He would spend hours studying and solving advanced problems by himself. Still not helping the bullying. So he became associated with other kids in his class who were also very interested in mathematics. They were called the Briefcase Boys.
Is this the beginning of Revenge of the Nerds?
No, that's the worst boy band name ever.
Right?
Briefcase Boys. Girl, wanna get in your briefcase?
I'll protect you like my pocket.
The Briefcase Boys. So, the Briefcase Boys were known for carrying briefcases everywhere around class, which...
Oh, so that's where it came from.
Ted was far ahead of his classmates academically and was soon in advanced math classes. He then skipped 11th grade and then ended up graduating high school at the age of 15. Yeah,
So
well,
there goes this chance for friends. Because you know a 15-year-old in college ain't gonna get any.
Yeah, he's...
You wanna look at my coins? No. What the fuck's wrong with you?
So he was one of the school's national merit finalists and was soon encouraged to apply for Harvard. He entered Harvard at the age of 16 on a full scholarship.
Okay, not gonna lie, that is impressive as
That
hell.
is extremely impressive. So impressive you start worrying about his social skills a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Maybe it's the opposite of a Good Will Hunting story. So,
Starting to sound like the main character from 21. Does Kevin Spacey make an appearance? We may find out.
only if someone screams. And then we'll know. So,
Little did he know this was about ball fondling.
you wonder if that's like a nightmare for if you don't go to bed, Timmy. Kevin Spacey's gonna get you.
Kaiser Soze is gonna fondle you. No. I'm going to bed.
So Ted's time at Harvard was complicated. He started school at 16 and at first had trouble socializing with the much older college kids. Most classmates remember him as being very quiet, but also very personable and friendly if he got to know you. So everyone also understood that Ted was a genius, even though he was socially awkward. A lot of classmates also commented that a lot of times he smelled like sour milk. As I went through his later life and his early life, that was like a constant.
He's a walking brain, but the dude smells like fucking soured milk.
God, that's gotta demote him a couple. I'm like, he's a brilliant genius, but god damn it, what the fuck is that smell?
Right, the moment things started going good for him, people started recognizing him. They were just like, oh yeah, but also he stinks.
Are you smelling that on Ted, or is it me, or no? He smells like that. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? So, in 1959, a 17-year-old Ted participated in a new experiment by famed psychologist Henry Murray. Ted was one of 22 college undergraduate students to be part of this experiment. Dr. Murray wanted to test how someone would handle extreme stress. Murray would have the subjects come into a dark room with one light bulb dimly lit. They would then order the subject to sit in a chair and then begin to berate the subject with abusive and humiliating language meant to strike at the subject's ego. So, he's like an abusive alcoholic father.
Right.
That seems fucked up. Many years later, a lot of psychologists said that this experiment was unethical. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
It's kind of sounding along.
You're a piece of shit,
right? It's kind of sounding along the lines of that study that would happen where they took a group of students and made half of them prisoners, half of them warriors.
Right, the Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah.
It's
not as fucked up,
right,
but
pretty fucked up. So yeah, he was 17 when this happened, even though he was a college sophomore. So they would also put electrodes on the subjects and would monitor them while they were being yelled at, test their heart rate and their brain. The experiment lasted 3 years. Ted was subject to over 100 hours of the experiment. So God was committed to finding this out. But God, you just go and sit in a chair and just have someone yell at you for.
What's funny is it's supposed to like tear down ego. This dude smells like soured milk and didn't have any friends. What kind of ego would he have?
I mean, I don't know. He did get into Harvard at 16. That's shit.
I smell like sour milk. I get all the ladies.
Like sour milk.
No.
It's his little dose of humility. So Ted then graduated from Harvard with a degree in mathematics in 1962 at the age of 20. 20 years old, he's a fucking Harvard grad.
Well, you didn't get your PhD at 20? What a loser.
That same year, he entered the University of Michigan, where he earned his master's and doctorate degrees in 1964 and 1967, respectively. Michigan was not his first choice, but they had offered him financial aid, housing, and a teaching musician, and an annual grant of $2,300, which was fucking, probably the cost of a car back in the day, cost of a house. Ted's first choice was Berkeley, but they would only offer housing and tuition. So at the age of 23, so by the age of 25, he had already had a doctorate in mathematics.
Jeez.
Yeah. Kaczynski's doctoral thesis was on geometric function theory. And according to one of Ted's professors, only 8 to 12 people in the whole country would be able to understand it. Which is good, because I tried to look it up and I was like, nope.
What's it called?
It's geometric function theory.
I'm gonna bookmark that shit.
Yeah, you could probably read his doctoral thesis online. So he was even solving mathematical problems that his own professors couldn't figure it out. Like, if no one in the department could figure it out, they'd ask Ted. When he's only 24 at the time. And then in 1967, Kaczynski moved to the Bay Area and became a professor of mathematics at UC Berkeley. He was 25 at the time. He taught geometry and calculus to the undergraduates, who were only a few years older than him.
Mm-hmm.
God, imagine going in and being like, "This is my professor. He's 20. He's old. 25."
Yeah, I'm the closest I'll ever get to that. This is my manager? He's 21? The fuck?
Yeah, you know a little bit of that going on.
A little bit, but not to the PhD standard.
No.
Fuck, man.
But Ted did not adapt well to teaching. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And his students did not like him. He would just teach straight from the book. He wouldn't answer questions, and he would spend most of his time grumbling while staring at a blackboard and writing problems. You know what? I had a couple professors like that in college. It is a little. You're just like, what's?
At that point, you're not even teaching. Page 33.
God. So.
You haven't even assigned a book yet. Page 33.
Oh man, I gotta make a B in this class.
Right.
He didn't participate in the cultural revival in Berkeley, and he largely just concentrated on math. So this guy's in Berkeley in 1967, and he's just kind of, he could be going out to the Bay Area and soaking up the culture and the hippies and dropping acid. No, I just want to stay in my room and do my problems, my math problems.
Beautiful mind over here.
God, he really was. So then on June 30th, 1969, Ted Kaczynski resigned without any explanation from his job at Berkeley. He then moved in with his parents in Lombard, Illinois. He would live here for 2 years until 1971. Then he moved to a small cabin he built himself in Lincoln, Montana. We're sorry, just outside Lincoln, Montana, not in the city. So, shut in. All right, sorry about that interruption. So he moved to a small cabin outside of the town of Lincoln, Montana. And Ted and his brother built the cabin together, and it was 10 by 12. That's it, just 10 by 12. The cabin had no electricity, no running water. So Ted had to like shit in a bucket, I guess. Or
So this guy's like, let's move to Montana and build my Berkeley dorm. But without plumbing.
Yeah, in a sense, it's yeah. So, Ted began to learn survival skills like tracking game. He learned edible plant identification. He learned organic farming and bow hunting. He was also living. He would take odd jobs around the city. And,
So he's a man of many hats.
Right. And then he would have to.
Just not friendships.
He would have to call his parents and get money from them sometimes, though. So kind of living off the land, kind of not. He's a bit of a millennial in him.
This dude was a 25-year-old PhD, and he still has to ask his parents for money.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I don't get it either. So Ted also built a bike. He built his own bike. And this was his only means of transport in the town. And he would often go to the local library in Lincoln to read classic books in their original languages. So, still thinking, still categorizing. Ted enjoyed his simple, self-sufficient lifestyle, but as he would walk around his property, and as he would ride into town, he began to notice more and more real estate developments and industrial projects around the town. Because, this is a town that's about 80 miles east of Missoula, so it's really pretty, and it's in the mountains. So, there's a lot of real estate going into it and everything. And so one day, he went to one of his favorite hiking spots, and he saw that there was going to be more buildings built there, and he was fucking furious.
yeah.
So he wrote in a diary on that day, about the spot he went to. That was his favorite. It's kind of rolling country, not flat. And when you get to the edge of it, you find these ravines that cut very deeply into cliff-like drop-offs. And there was even a waterfall there. It was about a 2-day hike from my cabin. This was the best spot until the summer of 1983. That summer, there were too many people around my cabin, so I decided I needed some peace. I went back to the plateau. When I got there, I found they had put a road right through the middle of it.
And I burned it.
So, not far off. So you just can't imagine how upset I was. It was from that point on I decided that rather than trying to acquire further wilderness skills, I would work on getting back in the system. I would work on my revenge. So kind of emo, a little emo there. So in 1975, he began to commit acts of sabotage against nearby developments. He saw that the world was moving faster and faster toward total mechanization, and that to fight it, violence would be necessary, and that it was the only way to destroy the system, the industrial technological system. So yeah, he's starting to go on tinfoil hat there. Territory, isn't he?
I wonder if he just like, if he would just listen to Fight the Power by Skindred on repeat.
We're public enemy. So
yes.
When Ted was at Harvard, he had been quite the prankster. He would often build small bombs and light them in dorm hallways and in other areas. Until one time when a bomb he built up blew out the windows of the chemistry lab. He won't go too far. So this gave Ted an idea.
I bet he shit his Walter Whiteys.
Oh, that was great. That was so fucking random. So it's kind of relevant. So
blow up in the lab.
yeah.
There's one of two ways you can go with that. Bombs don't work out. Maybe I'll just make meth.
Skylar, prepare your diaphragm. I'm coming home.
Oh my god.
So, he began building and testing homemade bombs on his property starting in 1975. And on May 25th, 1978, Ted's first bomb was in a package intended for Buckley Christ, professor of materials engineering at Northwestern University. Ted left the package in a parking lot at the University of Chicago. And the package had Chris's name and return address on it, but Chris was suspicious of it because it wasn't his handwriting. So he contacted campus police. What a fucking update. You open this for me. You poor person, open this for me. What an asshole.
Oh my god.
Officer Terry Marker opened the package, which exploded and injured his left hand.
He should have just labeled it Fleshlight Inc. and it would have been opened by the professor right then.
Oh man, is this the Sasha Grey model? Oh.
With the shower mount too.
So, when Chicago PD examined the box, they discovered that it was made of wood, and that he'd even made wooden switches. The guy knew his stuff, and that the batteries he had written off the serial number and brand and scratched it off, so it was completely untraceable. The trigger was very primitive. It was a nail tensioned by rubber bands, which would strike 6 common match heads when the box was opened. Kaczynski had returned to Illinois for the first initial bombing and stayed there working at a foam rubber factory with his father and brother. He worked there for 3 months until his brother had to fire him for writing insulting limericks about a female supervisor.
So, I think I know where we're going with this. Do you mind if I guess the topic now?
Yeah.
Unabomber.
Maybe. So I guess he would write limericks, and the building was like, roses are red, violets are blue. You're a cunt. Fuck you.
Or you didn't blow me, but I'll blow you.
So after this, Ted moved back to Montana and began making more bombs. On May 9, 1979, John Harris, another Northwestern University victim, injured his left hand opening a bomb. Then on another package on November 15, 1979, was sent by airmail and put on American Airlines passenger flight. It exploded in midair but caused no fatalities. It was just smoke inhalation. So, in June 10th, 1980, Percy Wood, president of United Airlines, opened a wood box that exploded and caused injuries and burns to his face. So he's getting better with every bomb. On October 8, 1981, another bomb was sent to the University of Utah, but it's defused. And then on May 5th, 1982, a bomb was sent to Vanderbilt University. And Secretary Janet Smith suffered injuries to her face when she opened it.
I bet that pissed him off when someone defused it.
It's like, fuck!
Goes from the whole like ego thing that they couldn't stem down with the yelling.
Speaking of that, he wanted revenge against his former alma mater. Well, no, the former university taught at. An engineering professor at the University of California, Berkeley, he opened a package on July 2nd, 1982, and it blew up in his face as well. Then the FBI began to call Ted the Unabomber. It was short for University and Airline Bomber. That's where the term came from. The FBI began working on the case in 1981 and had suspected that the perpetrator was a man with high intelligence, maybe even an academic degree, who had become a neo-Luddite, which is a term for people who don't like technology. But in 1985, the theory changed to an angry, disgruntled, but highly intelligent blue-collar airline mechanic. So they write the first. Isn't that great?
Once they figure it out, I bet they're like,
fuck.
We never said that second theory. It was always the first one.
I just love that. They figured it out initially. And then
Sure, I'll get the shredder.
So, the first serious injury occurred when another UC Berkeley student, John Hauser, had a bomb explode which blew off 4 fingers and partially blinded him on one eye.
Would you call him handy?
Well, it blew off his right hand, so you call him lefty, actually.
But he wasn't right.
Yeah. And then in the same year, he sent bombs to the Boeing Company and the University of Michigan, injuring 2 more people. And then another one to a computer store owner, Hugh Scruton, in Sacramento. This bomb exploded and killed Scruton. This was his first fatality. So he then targeted another computer store owner in Salt Lake City named Gary Wright, who received severe injuries to his arm when he opened the box. So pretty lucky. And then there was a 6-year silence. From 1987 to 1993, there wasn't anything. Then Ted struck again, sending a bomb to geneticist Charles Epstein and another to David Gelernter within a few days of each other. He was a computer science professor. Both men were badly injured, and Gelernter lost his right hand in the bomb. Then another bomb was sent to an advertising exec, Thomas Moser, to his home in North Caldwell, New Jersey. They killed him. And then on April 25th, 1995, another was sent to Gilbert Murray, a timber industry lobbyist in Sacramento. And he died from his injuries as well. But you know what?
The fact that he got away with it for so long.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But
yeah.
I mean, and then he was labeling all his bombs FC, and they couldn't figure out what it meant, and it meant Freedom Center. Center. Pretty sure that's right, Freedom Center. That's what I wrote.
Jeez.
So, later in, but you know what? He killed an advertising exec and a timber industry lobbyist. So, are we really that sad about it? It's just another two less bullshitters in the world sucking away money from the American middle class. You know what? I don't want to sound like him. So.
Right.
But you know what? He could have. Yeah, it's kind of like if you ever find out.
He pretty much just always blew off the jerking hand of everyone.
Yeah.
Like, haha, sucky computer science. You can't use your favorite tool for the internet anymore, can you?
That's fucked up. But you know, it's like finding out there was a massacre at the Kardashian house. How many victims really were there? Those aren't people. So, in 1995, Kaczynski sent out several letters to media outlets telling them that he had a 35,000-word essay called "The Industrial Society and Its Future." This was dubbed the Unabomber Manifesto by the FBI. He demanded it be printed by a major newspaper. He claimed that if this was done, he would desist from terrorism. He would desist. So, AG Janet Reno and FBI Director Louis Freeh agreed. Bob Guccione of Penthouse volunteered to publish it, but Kaczynski was against the idea. Imagine Penthouse publishing. Like, you look at the index, like, page 3, anal. Page 10, more anal. Page 18, more anal. And then page 36, Unabomber Manifesto. Read and think about it, people. Between jerk-off sessions. Instead, the New York Times and the Washington Post both printed it and split the publishing costs.
What they should have done is, in like the margin, right? If you don't read this, he's gonna come after your dominant hands. You won't be able to flip pages and have fun anymore.
Maybe they should have just split it up and put like a paragraph on each girl's tit, and you have to read it through. So in this manifesto, Kaczynski asserted that the Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. That he argued that it had a destabilizing effect on society, and it made life unfulfilling, and it caused widespread psychological suffering. It also distracted people from what was really important. He specifically incited things like scientific studies and sports, distracted people from what was really going on, which, I kind of read through some of his ideas, and he's not totally wrong. There's a little bit of sanity to his madness in it. But, the way he went about getting that message out was really fucked up. And the irony of decrying technology through a manifesto that was shared because of the availability of technology, because he had to send that out. Now it would be on the internet. Back then it was newspapers and magazines, and the only reason other people were able to see it is because of the invention of the technology. So the irony is kind of interesting on that. So meanwhile, while all this was going on, David Kaczynski, Ted's brother, read the Unabomber Manifesto and was about 99% certain that it was his brother. He then hired a private investigator to follow Ted. David had not seen his brother since 1985. They had a falling out, but he still was certain that his brother had written this, just based on certain language in the manifesto. David was afraid Ted would be killed in a raid. He cared about his brother deeply, and he sat down with the FBI to see if they could get a no-knock search warrant. The FBI didn't have enough evidence at the time. David felt awful about doing this to his brother, and he used to look up to Ted, and had even at some point shared some of the same beliefs, but thought Ted had become too much of an extremist on the issue. He sought counsel from his mother about what to do, and both he and his mother agreed that Ted was far too gone psychologically to be recovered, and that he would keep murdering people.
First we did the hospital. All right, we should have gone with the cellar idea.
It's weird to think about it. Like, all this was caused maybe by some childhood traumatic, thing, like with hives, and just, him wanting isolation. It's just really weird to think about that.
Right.
So, David asked Washington, D.C. attorney Tony Bisceglie. I could not pronounce this guy's fucking name. It's Bisceglie. So I'm going to go with Bisceglie.
That's probably pretty close to it. Close enough for what I care.
Yeah, I know, right? Sorry, excuse me. So, Tony Bisceglie started to organize evidence against his brother to turn over to the FBI. Bisceglie then hired former FBI negotiator and criminal profiler Clint Van Zandt to compare the manifesto to typewritten copies of handwritten letters that David had received from Ted. So they took some letters that Ted had sent his brother, and they kind of compared them. Van Zandt determined that there was a 60% chance that the same person had written the letters and also the manifesto. Then Van Zandt hired another analytical team, and they determined a 75% likelihood. Soon all the evidence from Van Zandt and Bisceglie was sent to the Unabomber Task Force in San Francisco. Linguistic analysts then determined that the author of David's letters and of the manifesto were almost certainly the same. This provided the basis of a search warrant. And so on April 3rd, 1996, Ted Kaczynski was arrested in his cabin, which I'm assuming spelled like sour milk.
And we've gone full circle.
So when they found him, his cabin was it was pretty much in shambles. It wasn't looking good. He wasn't looking good. The FBI found 40,000 handwritten journal pages containing bomb-making experiments. Also, they found descriptions of the Unabomber bombings and one live bomb ready for mailing. So he was fucking lying. He's gonna still send shit out to people.
If Edison was around, he would have stolen all of it. You've done all this research? Even if it's a bomb, it's
mine now. So by this point, the manhunt for the Unabomber was the most expensive in FBI history. And there was a reward for $1 million to the person who helped capture the Unabomber. That's how serious they were. David Kaczynski was promised that he would be anonymous and that his brother would never find out, but his name was leaked. And Ted knew that his brother betrayed him. That fucked up. Sorry, buddy, but I needed that $1 million. I had a divorce.
Thank you, media.
God.
The birth of CNN.
Yeah, it was. A federal grand jury indicted Ted on 10 counts of illegally transporting, mailing, and using bombs, and 3 counts of murder. Ted's public defenders wanted to enter an insanity defense, but Ted refused. He was clearly sane.
I'm not insane. Y'all are insane.
So,
I wrote a theory that only 12 people can read.
Clearly got it all together. Ted was examined by doctors, and it was determined that he had at least a mild form of schizophrenia. No fucking shit. But they did determine that he was psychotic. So legally, he was sane enough to do this. So on January 9, 1996, Ted tried to hang himself in a cell. The attempt was thwarted. Man, he fails at everything.
He just can't catch a break.
No.
He can build a bomb, but he can't hang himself.
God. So prosecutors sought the death penalty in the case for Ted. But then Ted agreed to plead guilty and serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. And on January 22nd, he was sentenced to 8 life sentences. Yeah, so Kaczynski is currently serving his time at a supermax prison in Florence, Colorado. He joined 2 other famous prisoners there. And it was reported that Kaczynski had befriended 2 prisoners, Ramzi Youssef, the perpetrator of the 1993 World Trade Center bombings, and Timothy McVeigh, the perpetrator of the Oklahoma City bombings. The trio got along well and discussed religion and politics, and so McVeigh was transferred to Indiana and got executed in 2001. He might get a nod later, because that's a fucked up story in and of itself.
Yes.
Kaczynski's cabin was then seized by the U.S. government and is currently on display at the Museum in Washington, D.C. His manifesto also went on sale, and all proceeds from it go to his victims. so far they've raised about between $2 and $2.5 million. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing that. So in 2012, a Harvard 50th Anniversary Association director sent Ted a form because he's a Harvard alumni in 1962. And he listed his occupation as prisoner and his 8 life sentences as one of his accomplishments.
As what?
One of his accomplishments. So when you have an alumni,
What was his accomplishment?
His 8 life sentences.
Oh my god. Fucking champion.
So believe it or not, if anyone's listening and they want to, you could actually write Ted Kaczynski. And if he likes your letter and he thinks you're like a smart guy and ask him an interesting question, he will write back to you. He really will. I looked this up and he'll do it. But
Color me intrigued.
But I don't know if you want return. Don't put an address on there because, yeah, he sends bombs. So, not a good thing to show up in your P.O. box.
He couldn't create a noose in a Supermax. I doubt he'll be able to create a bomb.
Oh, man. And he wasn't that far from you. Florence, Colorado, I think, is not that far from where you were.
Probably not.
Hey,
anyway. Everybody, let's go on vacation and visit Unabomber.
So,
let's make a date.
You know who the Unabomber is, but you didn't know who Ted Kaczynski was.
Yeah, I knew of the Unabomber. I didn't know his name or much about him.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? He was a genius. And and it's weird how somebody like that has everything gone for them and they're just not right ahead and they can just, it can end so badly. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that. It was a happy ending.
Kind of went out with a bang.
Yeah, literally. So, I'm Corey.
I'm Logan.
And we're signing off. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe.
Blow up that like button.